So there's a Hebrew word called malak, and malakah is the term for work, labor, like in the context of the 6 days of creation. It's what needs to stop on Shabbat. But if you look at the ancient root letters of this word, it's mem, lamed, and kaf. They're the exact same root letters that we use for the word melech, which means king.
Wow, so yeah, we're saying they share the same linguistic DNA, which really opens it up, doesn't it?
Yes, so we drew a really stark, profound conclusion from this idea of this shared root. Your work has the inherent potential to become your king. You know, the thing you labour at, the career you're building, the social status you are curating, you know, it can easily ascend the throne of your life.
Yeah, it starts dictating your worth, doesn't it? Especially as social media. I think that's one thing we really need to give up on Shabbat.
Yeah. So I think that is a great point, actually.
I know we've got to move on, but when we do social media, I just want to say this. It is, in a way, maintaining your image there. We're in danger of that becoming our king. You know, our own ego, our own status becoming... Yeah, there we go.
I get it, see it. And that needs to stop also on Shabbat. And that's more subtle, especially for our kids. It's like, turn your phone off. No social media on Shabbat. Really. We've got to define what malakah is and be responsible over those who we are responsible over. And yeah, great discussion. But yeah, thank you. So, it's an allegiance check.
It's a great way to phrase it, actually.
But it forces you to assess who or what is actually ruling your life. So, I don't know, for you, think about what this looks like practically. We said about social media. But visualize, I don't know, your career, the stuff you do during the week. You know, even your identity is like the perfect parent or something. So visualize taking the crown off of that thing and setting it down on the table.
Yeah, you have to step away from it to prove to your own psychology, your own brain, that is not ruling you. And if you can't, hey, now you see. If you literally can't put that phone away, if you can't stop checking your email or maintaining your social media, you know what? Your work is your king.
It's a tyrannical king as well, because it will demand endless sacrifice. You know, we are given, I think we might talk about this later, but in case we forget, the second covenant. We are introduced later on in terms of Shabbat being a remembrance that we are released from Egypt. And that is the relentless king. And when you are there on Shabbat and you just have this drive to check your social media, it's like, oh, that's Pharaoh. And Pharaoh ain't good. Pharaoh is holding you back. Pharaoh is the king of that place we call Egypt, which comes from the Hebrew root that means narrow place. It's narrowing you. If you can't put that phone down on Shabbat, like, try it.
Yeah, try it. That sounds easier said than done when you think about it. Anyway, so there we are.
So, to counter this, we introduced this thought that sounds almost scandalous at first.
Yeah, I remember this bit. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, so we just came up with a statement in Genesis, man is the idol of God. Now, we need to unpack this. The word idol in a modern context, and certainly in a traditional religious context, an idol it's got this negative connotation. Yeah, we think force worship, we think golden calf, we think things that are inherently wrong to prioritize.
We do, but we've got to read this through the lens of the ancient Near East. And this is where it got interesting. Context matters. And yes, idolatry, the Torah says no. But in the historical context, an idol wasn't necessarily a false god in the minds of the people. It was the physical representation of the deity placed inside the center of the temple. It was the visible stand-in, as it were, for the invisible divine presence. And humanity is that representation as we get to Genesis 2. We are the physical expression of the divine on earth.
Yeah, that we found that beautiful.
But here is the critical pivot. We noted that the true character of the divine isn't found in endless, frantic creation. Now, but think of the positioning in time here. That we see the image of man appear.
And alongside the name of God.
Yes, yeah. But chapter 1, Genesis chapter 1, the creation of the world has all been about Elohim. But in chapter 2, we're introduced to Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, the name of God. And alongside the idea of man, in a place of rest, it says when God had finished creating the heaven and earth. And then we talk about the intricacy of the creation of man here. So we're already introduced to man here, Adam. We're introduced to the idol. It talks about forming it, fashioning it from the dust. That's kind of the same words we hear later on in the Bible when it describes forming or fashioning an idol. This is God forming an idol. But look at this. Look at this within the context of an ancient Near Eastern mindset and what the Torah is answering. How the Torah is kind of using their vernacular to really help reframe the purpose in life. Who are we? I think it's absolutely so wise the way the Bible does this. And we don't often see that in modern reading of the Bible. But when you look at it in light of the ancient Near East, you start seeing this kind of genius.
Yeah, that's really, really is. So Adam was built, this idol was built within the realization of enough, within the realization of stop, under that foundation.
Yeah, exactly. And we call this the stopping, the resting, the nutrients for our multiplication and the image in the image and likeness of God. We saw that was the kind of the first command, be fruitful and multiply. And we were saying that the environment that Adam was placed in was the exact nutrients, the exact right tuning for that to become possible.
Yeah. So you don't reflect the divine by working yourself into an holy grave,
Yeah, exactly. You reflect it by recognizing when the work is finished and resting in that completion.
Yeah, but I'm looking at human behavior. I'm looking at myself, and really, there's a huge tension here. If our fundamental design is to reflect this image through the stop, why is there a default biological and psychological setting always go, go, go within me? Why do we hate stopping so much? We're kind of terrified of it, aren't we?
Yeah. And we were looking into this, we were talking about this, and we were going back to the narrative of Garden of Eden, specifically focusing on the serpent's lie. This is where we were talking in another conversation I don't know what one it was, but the idea of the serpent. Can't remember what I was going to say.
The serpent's lie.
It's gone. Maybe it'll come back. Don't worry. I'll carry on, and then we'll see. So what the serpent was saying was really subtle. The serpent told humanity that you will be like God. And now I remember what I was saying. But what I was thinking as an additional thought here is that I think it's the Spiritual Realms Reimagined is the title of the song that came from the podcast, but I can't think of the podcast name. But anyway, it's like the bow and arrow. This is the first lesson in archery that man gets in the garden. Can you stick to the words of God and not be distracted by the words of the serpent? That really encourages you to strive for more in the environment of stop.
Wow, you've put that really clearly. Can you say that again?
All right, I'll try. The serpent is the voice that encourages you to strive for more in the environment of stop.
So he tries to take you off path from a realization that it's all done. There's no more.
Yeah, and I think that is our problem that is answered in Yeshua, because it goes further than like creating work or whatever, but it's that we're not good enough. We need to be more somehow. And even within the failing to hit the mark there, we see Adam hiding, and we can see the insipid kind of psychology of the serpent has already seeped into Adam at that moment. He's not good enough. And not only is he not like God and needs to reach out for the fruit to become like God, now he is less than he already was. And I think that's a mistake. That was actually a lie that perpetuated within his reaction. And it's his reaction that was the reason why he was ejected from the garden, because for his own safety, and I think we put it in the restorative justice conversation we had a while ago, that we do that to each other. Like, I don't want to go off subject here, but and I'm saying this because I think this is really important when it comes to Shabbat. Shabbat is our realigning place. Shabbat is our ability to go back to the garden every week, to reassess, to go back to the place we might have changed our view of ourselves as not enough, or failed, or whatever. It's an opportunity to see yourself again as God sees you. And so, yeah, he was ejected from the garden. They were, because it said that they might eat from the tree of life and live forever. Now, that we said this many times before, but if you haven't heard it before, that word is actually olam without a vav, and that means hidden. I think I'm getting that right. Without a vav, is it?
Yeah, the vav is dropped, and that's interesting in Hebrew. Vav is the letter that's dropped most to do these little interesting kind of bunny trails. When you see a vav drop, there's definitely something going on with the vav.
Yeah, and interestingly, that's the tent peg. That's the thing that links. It keeps things on the ground, doesn't it?
Yeah, and oh wow, that's an interesting thought. Yeah, the hiding stopped Adam being grounded here.
Yeah, wow, yeah. Like, we could go in and off onto that one, but we're not going to. But yeah, so that's why he had to go out of the garden, because he's hiding. He doesn't understand that God is there as the archery teacher saying, pick it up again and try again. The first lesson I've got for you is, are you able to hear my voice over the serpents? The answer is no. So come back and we will sort this one out, and we will keep going until you get it, until you understand how to do this. And I know that's what we're saying in the Restorative Justice podcast, and we do that to each other. Sometimes we give each other that too high a state of perfection that we require of people.
And this is what the beautiful thing we saw God does at this moment is come alongside them and clothe them. Like, he doesn't want them clothed. That's not a design for them, but he knows what they need in that moment. And he also knows that the garden, the state of perfection, that state, the higher learning environment, as we've called it, it's not a good place. It's going to destroy them mentally, psychologically. They need to come out of the garden in order to bring them to the place where they really can heal in their self-identity so that it doesn't cause death within them. So anyway, I just didn't want to go on too far on that, but I think I have.
No, it was needed. Because we're talking about Shabbat, and we're talking about Shabbat being a counterpart to all these truths. This day, this moment in time is a counterpart to the place that we were rested into. So when we come to Shabbat, we return ourselves to the garden. It's a chance to do that. So we have to think about all these things within that context. So yeah, thanks for taking us there.
Great. So let's carry on with what these little notes we got. So we looked at the idea of a different note tuning.
Oh yeah, think about that. Why that specific phrase, you will be like God, is so insidious. We're talking that according to the foundational narrative, humanity was already made in the image and likeness of the divine.
Yeah, they already had it. They already possessed it. You know, this absolute worth, this, as we've seen, it's after the stop that we get the introduction to the formation of the idol of God, the man, you know.
So it's just a slight detuning, and it's changed just enough to create this dissonance. You've ever heard a tune out of a string out of tune? So the lie was so subtle. It wasn't like you're garbage. It was like, but that's something you can easily say, no, I'm not. The lie was, you need to strive to become something you're not yet.
Wow. It like introduced the concept of lack to them, didn't it? It convinced humanity that their worth wasn't inherent, but something that had to be earned, achieved, grasped, grasped that. And he managed to convince us, or Adam, that they needed to be like God, or Eve. It effectively eliminated the possibility of the stop.
That's what I was saying, is like he got rid of the stop.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, this is a really even more subtle truth, and this is just mind-blowing. We're talking about this. We believe that God had plans for them to move further. And yes, to get them to the place where they were more like God in terms of knowing good and evil, taking that fruit, whatever. I mean, yeah. But if you're not doing it from the foundation of stop, and I think this is what you were talking about, really, isn't it? Do you want to?
What, you mean the sense of lack of mojo? Yeah, okay. So I just saw, at the moment I'm going through a phase in life, and it's during the counting of the Omer, so I'm okay with it. You know, I know God needs to do his work, and I'm just like, okay, all right, let's do this thing. But I'm just waking up every day with just no mojo about life. Like, I used to be an organizer. I used to love being in the middle of the community and doing stuff, and I had all this excitement about music and doing stuff, and I've just lost all my mojo for it. And over the last week, I've had to just put one foot in front of the other. I was talking to Helen earlier on. She says she's feeling the same, which is really interesting. I just found that really quite encouraging, actually, because I think it's not just me. But anyway, that aside, I feel that God is teaching me to come back to the garden and not have that focus on do. And there is do. There's a lot to do. And it's really good. But maybe he is revealing deeper stuff within me at this time. And each year we go through the Moedim. He does a little bit more work in layers, in our psyche, in our soul, in nefesh in our life. And maybe this year, during this time of counting the Omer, you know, that lovely picture of the Omer is this provision for the day, for now. Maybe that's really, really pertinent to what I'm experiencing at the moment. It's like, you are enough. Day by day, you are given enough of the Omer. If you hoard it, it rots tomorrow. Everyone ends up with the same amount, miraculously somehow. And it's like, yeah, maybe God's teaching me this, that this lack of mojo is helping me to let go and helping me to see that maybe my foundation has been coming from doing, from projects. I've got so many projects, I've got so many ideas, I've got so many hopes and dreams. And actually, the older I get, the more I realise that, oh my goodness, I'm theoretically becoming less and less able, having less and less time in life to be able to do all the hopes and dreams I've got. So I've got all these hopes that cannot be fulfilled in my lifetime. And I just think of many hopes of many people over the generations that I'm sure they had hopes that were from God, that were like written in the Bible as to an amazing vision of what God wants for the world, and they died without seeing it. And I'm feeling the same. I'm like, goodness me, the build-up of time. That's a song that I've done on written the lyrics for recently. And there's less and less time to do this stuff. And you get, you know, I've had the back operation. It's really made me face my mortality. And yeah, all this stuff, I think God is just bringing me to foundation again. I'm enough. So yeah, that's what I was feeling.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. It's really open of you. Horrible, that lack of mojo, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been excruciating. But because I know I'm in the counting of the Omer, because I know I am cradled by God and He is like growing me and honing me, I'm okay with it. I couldn't survive. And I'll work through this. I've had other times in my life when I've felt the same. Usually it's within the time of the 3 weeks, the straits, when it culminates in Tisha B'Av, the remembrance of the destruction of the temple on the 9th of Av. That's usually when I feel it, but I'm feeling it early this year. So just found that interesting.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. So we'll go back to the notes here. What have we got now?
So the work is never finished. You can never experience enough. Oh yeah, we're talking about that in terms of the serpent's voice. You're constantly chasing a horizon that keeps receding. So that is the lie that destroyed that. We're talking about the resonance of the string. It just detuned it just enough. And the design originally is this rhythm of work culminating in this perfection of stock.
But if the serpent's lie is that we need to constantly strive to be like God, or, you know, to be perfect, I don't know, self-improvement, isn't that a good thing? You know, we read books, we go to therapy, we input, because we want to be better tomorrow than we are today. How do you balance that? Like, how do you separate toxic striving from healthy, necessary growth? If we just sit around saying, I don't know, we don't say this, but I'm already perfect, you know. I don't know, it could lead to laziness or stagnation.
Yeah, and that's, yeah, great, balance. That's the essential modern dilemma, isn't it? It doesn't lie in the action of improving. It lies in the starting point of your psychology, and that's what we're talking about here. It's the difference between acting from a place of completion versus acting from a place of deficit. And I think that is the ultimate serpent's lie.
Wow. That requires a bit of time to think on. Walk me through that.
Okay.
Because we want to see this on a practical level, ultimately.
Okay. So maybe you're leading a new project at work. I don't know. if you remember that you are already the idol, the representation of inherent worth on earth. Now, this is just profound. You're starting from a place of completion. You know you are fundamentally valuable as a human being. And it's not attached to whether this project is going to succeed or whether it's going to fail,
So it's like you got a secure kind of worth.
Thank you. Yes, exactly. Yeah, you can be creative. You can work hard. You can push your team to grow. You can do the work stuff, but you're doing it as like a joyful expression of your capabilities. It's more like play. It's more like exploration.
Yeah, because your identity isn't on the line.
Exactly. This is a really healthy way to be. But when we fall for the serpent's detune, you feel empty. You start operating from a deficit. You feel empty. You feel like, I don't know, you get this, I think, where the origin of imposter syndrome comes from.
Wow. And do you know what? That's what you said, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, in my life, that's really interesting. Thanks for reminding me of that. In my life, imposter syndrome comes on the horizon when I've got material ready to release. Because the podcast even, like, massive imposter syndrome. When I'm giving a teaching, have I got it right? Is it good enough? Am I barking up the wrong tree? And all the excitement just goes out the window. And that, yeah, thanks for that. Because maybe that's what God's trying to talk to me about. That I've been listening to the serpent's lie. That I'm not enough. And it's not play. It's my identity is at stake here. And that's detuning.
Yeah, I'm glad I was able to talk into that. And yeah, I think that's really, really wise, actually. Advice for anyone who feels imposter syndrome. Really look into that. Really good. Shabbat will really help you if we really enter into it.
This is really useful, isn't it? Really practical.
Yeah. We're not attempting to prove our right to exist, are we? And you can see what it looks like if you are doing it from that place. You're like staying up from right through the night. You're answering emails. If the project fails, you fail as a human being. It's kind of like the psychology of the workplace, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's when your work becomes your king, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it becomes a tyrant because you can never actually... Your work can never grant you the intrinsic worth you're looking for, and that's fair. And Shabbat is the architectural mechanism that forcibly restores the original tuning. It forces you to stop and realize, I'm already enough.
So it's a contrast of acting from completion or acting from deficit. If you genuinely internalize that, it completely changes the flavor of your work days and your life outside of Shabbat. If you know deep inside your bones that you are going to step into that cathedral in time on that seventh day, that perfecting day, that place where you are actually inherently valuable just for breathing, that cortisol-drenched desperation of the work week, it loses its grip upon you. You dethrone that king.